Welcome, 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 welcome. All right, so it's 11:08. We're gonna get going officially here. Um, Welcome to the One Degree Assembly gathering for the last one of the year, and this will be a real special one. So we're just gonna have an opening with a bit of breath work. Here's some rattling going on. You just mute yourself. All right, so Jackie Netchell is going to be leading some breath work for us this morning, and she's just been real magical relationship, that connection that was brought forth from David Gonzalez, and he's like, you're just going to love this person, and I absolutely do love Jackie and what she's doing with flow consciousness and really helping move that out into the world. So Jackie, if you could just leave us in like 2 minutes of breath work would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be more of like a breathwork meditation. So if I can just share my screen and put on some music for you. You know if that works. Y'all hear me? All right, so just go ahead and take a moment to ground yourself. All right, so go ahead and just ground your feet on the floor. And today we're going to work with a three-part pranayama. So you're going to be breathing into your belly and into your heart, and then exhaling. So if it helps to put one hand on your belly, one hand on your heart, go ahead and do that now. I want you to take a deep breath into your belly, allowing your belly to expand. And draw that breath up into your heart. And then exhale through your mouth with a sigh. And as soon as you empty out, take another deep cleansing breath. The etymology of the word inspire means to breathe in and to bring life and spirit into the body, to fill the heart with grace. So feel that breath filling your heart with love. Gathered here today to conspire, take this breath together. Our heart is like a battery. It needs to be charged. We charge it with prana. Call the divine guide yourself most loved. I just felt overwhelmed and overcome with love for someone and something. Maybe it was the first time you looked into your child's eyes, being in your partner's embrace. For me, it's imagining myself on my grandma's lap as she lovingly brushes my hair. Just whatever that is for you, maybe it's the unconditional love of a pet, the raw inspiration of nature. Just feel that love in your heart as you breathe. I want you to see the dial on your heart, and there's 10 numbers on it. Just notice, what's the intensity of the love you're feeling right now? I want to invite you to turn it up. Really turn the volume up on that love. Crank that dial all the way up to its 10. Amplify the feeling. Make it crisper, sharper. Allow it to permeate every cell of your being. We're taught to look outside of ourselves for love, that we have to find it, get it. But the truth is, you could never be unloved or unworthy of love because you are love. It's the very essence of your being. That love is so profound, ineffable, and it can't be spoken. This is a tuning fork that I'm striking, other tuning forks into that frequency, into that vibration. You too are a tuning fork, bringing everyone else into that harmonic resonance.
The power of love is here now.
Just take a
The
moment,
power of now
last
is
breath,
here now. The power of you,
breathe in
me is
deeply
here
into
to
your belly,
create magic on earth.
into your heart.
The power of love is
Imagine
here
blasting that
now.
love to
The
everyone
power of
on this
now is here
call.
now. The power of
Create the
you,
coherent field
me
of
is
love.
here to create magic
On the
on
count of
earth.
3, we'll all breathe one last time together. One, two, three. Breathe in deeply into your belly, up into your heart, and blast that love as you exhale to every beautiful being on this call. Feel that love radiating everyone.
Let the water wash away your
When you're
tears.
ready, allow your eyes
Let the fire
slowly open and return back into the space. Thank you all for breathing with me.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate that. All right. Beautiful way of opening. I'm going to hand it over in just a second to my friend Danny Friedland, who's also a new friend. And do you know how like when you meet somebody and you're like instantly you just meet someone, you're like, oh, this is one of the people I care so much and so deeply about. And that's what I feel is like happening right now in this moment, because all of us, for whatever reason, have been called to this gathering and other gatherings. And it's like you immediately recognize this resonance and connection. And so it's such a beautiful thing. So Danny Friedland has he was one of the first evidence-based researchers who really brought evidence-based medicine out into the world. He has a great book called Leading Well from Within, and he serves high-level leaders and organizations in essentially leading more consciously. And he coaches the CEO of Conscious Capitalism. He is the founding chair of Academy of Integrative Health and Medicine. And what I really love about Danny is as soon as you meet him, you just fall in love with him. And I think you'll get to understand why I wanted him to lead this session. And we did a little bit of a pivot over the weekend talking about what is going on. He's on our Wisdom Council for the 1 Degree Network. The 1 Degree Network is, the intention is, as you know, to nudge consciousness by 1 degree using the leverage of business. And it's anchored in wisdom, and Danny's on that Wisdom Council. And I'm also really excited and proud to see many of the other Wisdom Council members on here. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to you, Danny. And this, you've just been talking about that. You are in full bloom of what is going on, and I want you to share a little bit and take it from here. And I promise you, this is going to be a really, really powerful session. He just led a 3-day deep dive for John Berghoff's community, which John's team has been facilitating a lot of our meetings for the exchange community. And it was just a magical 3-day deep dive. And we're going to get to the essence of that 3-day deep dive here together.
Well, actually, I'd like you. So my intention is to get as quickly as I can for you to have an activity. I want to bring you an activity from that extraordinary deep dive that we had. But I realized, Alexis Dean, you are in the house. would you like to share a bit about that deep dive, about that experience, and just to set it up for us? And by the way, this is just all in the flow of emergence. Alexis wasn't, anticipating that I'd call on her.
No, I wasn't anticipating that at all, but it's so lovely to see you again, and so nice to see you in this group. And of course, you're in a space with Yanik and all of these wonderful humans. So yeah, that experience last week was transformative. And going into it, I hadn't read the book yet, and I came away with just I guess like a deeper connection to everyone who was in that experience with all of us together. And then also just such a greater understanding of what it means to lead with love and what true leadership can look like in the world. And it was incredible. So I highly encourage everyone to read the book, and I'm so glad that you're here. And my feedback on that experience doesn't give it justice at all. It was amazing. So thank you so much, Danny, for sharing.
Well, thank you for setting that up. Well, Alexis, I really appreciate that. And so the book, I mean, you've given a perfect setup for me to actually share the book. So the book is Leading Well from Within. It's the science and practice of conscious leadership. And what you'll notice is it's a fractal. That image is a fractal. It's a holotorus right on the cover. You see that in sunflowers. That's why we actually find beauty in sunflowers. It's a fractal. So the idea is when you know how to lead well from within and you awaken into your conscious leadership, you create a fractal in the world where you awaken others. And that's the spirit of the 1 Degree Network. We're all co-awakening right now. We're all co-awakening right now. And the glory of our community is this glory of co-awakening with our own unique voices. So we each get to live our purpose in the world. We want to hear about projects going on. So it's not any one project, but as we all co-awaken together, we all have access to the field. What is your unique gift and expression that comes out of the field? So we're being inspired over here, the glory of this in coming into the community. I mean, the glory of what Yanik has done over here in bringing this network. Yanik's deepest mission is to catalyze the catalysts, right? And right, Yanik? So,
right, yeah.
Yeah. So this co-awakening, he's bringing a group of you, extraordinary leaders in the world. You each accomplished at the highest level in your craft. What happens when we first, before we can actually do the work of co-awakening, of awakening conscious leadership in the world, we have to do the work ourselves. And many of you are already awakened. But we're asking, what's the next level of awakening? What's the next level of awakening? Because we're never done. And so we're all co-awakening here together, inspiring each other so we can actually co-awaken as conscious leaders to actually create this 1 degree shift in the world. And so these gatherings are incredibly important. I want you to understand the value of these gatherings because we're trying to think, and everybody's time is precious. And what makes these gatherings very extraordinary, it's this idea that we're bringing together an incredible group of people where we're co-awakening. And each one of these sessions is a co-awakening in that arc of that journey. So please come back over and over and over and over again, because we're doing the work of co-awakening so that we can actually awaken consciousness in the world. So this is our journey within, leading well from within, first within ourselves and then within our community, so that we can really serve faithfully to actually do the bigger work of awakening consciousness to create healing, growth, and flourishing wellness in the world at this historic time of need and opportunity. I'm thinking about, we're in time of COVID. We're in the time of awakened systemic racism. We're in the time of deep political polarization. The world needs us now more than ever. So that's enough of a preamble. I want to give you 3 questions. Can you all see that in the chat? These are 3 questions. And I want to give great credit to John Berghoff, because that's where I learned my facilitation skill. these facilitation skills, I used to do presentations. Now I do facilitation. I do facilitation because I know the curriculum's not on the slide deck, it's what's on deck. It's what's on deck. Life is the curriculum. And the way we answer these questions and we co-awaken, it's holding a space for the collective wisdom to actually surface. And so John would say the value of exchange is to choreograph conversations that unlock exponential outcomes. Think about that. So actually, why John and I have partnered is that my expertise is in facilitating the internal conversation. What is the quality of your internal conversation in your awakening? John's expertise is how do you choreograph external conversations so that we can unlock collective wisdom at scale. So the blessing of this as a fractal is the inner conversation that leads to the outer conversation. And then it scales all the way up, right? So it's been said that appreciative inquiry is the best of what was, is, and could be. It's a choreography of questions. It's a choreography of questions asked with an attitude that is congruent with those questions. So I'm going to share with you the attitude, but I want to give you the structure of the questions because there's and Hal, you've been through, I'm thinking about, you've been a brother to John Berghoff, Hal Elrod. You've been privy to that because your best year ever blueprint and even your morning miracle is built on some of these principles. You want to share maybe brief, like a 160-second help?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Daniel. For me, John discovered this work of appreciative inquiry, and then he took it to another level. He worked with the creator of the work, and then he brought these ideas to the creator, and the creator went, wow, I've never thought about my work the way that you're thinking about my work. And so he kind of handed the reins over to John, and it's essentially, tapping into the collective wisdom of a group, right, which is perfect for this scenario, and it's perfect for all of the work that we do, but doing it quickly to where you can solve your problems or the world's problems faster and more effectively than anyone has possibly done without this methodology. So Daniel, I'm really excited that you are bringing this gift to the 1 Degree Network.
And I'm bringing it through. So now we're acknowledging a lineage. So John learned, he did apprenticeship with David Cooper-Ryder. David Cooper-Ryder in 1982 understood the value of appreciative inquiry because he was doing his PhD and he went to the Cleveland Clinic. And what he did was he went to the Cleveland Clinic, and typically the consultant, 1982, go into a clinic and they ask questions like, well, what's wrong and how can we make you better? And that usually kind of sucks the energy out of the room. What's wrong over here? Because somebody's to blame, and it just sucks the energy out of the room. But then what David realized was, oh, there were pretty amazing things happening as well. So instead of actually asking what's wrong, he said, I'm very curious. Can you share with me these amazing things and why that's going so well? And what he discovered is that when you ask questions that are generative like this, people come alive. Those questions are life-giving. And so that was actually the birth of appreciative inquiry. Since then, it's been used by the United Nations. It's been used by Google. It's been used by Apple. It's been used by BMW. It's been used by Starbucks. I mean, countless. And in many of, I'm in the world of conscious capitalism. Many of the founding stories, Fairmont Central, many of the founding stories of conscious leadership, even before we had actually formalized the principles, came out of the case studies of the successes driven by appreciative inquiry. So I want you to understand the lineage of that now, as we go into your experience of it. So it is, when we're talking about how do we assemble value over here, it's not Yanik's job to create value. It's our job to come together to unlock the collective wisdom within our group. None of us, not any one of us can do this alone, no matter how brilliant our work is. But when we come together and catalyze something, because we're unlocking our collective wisdom, because we're sparking on the genius of everybody in the room, we go so much further together. And that's the value of showing up to these meetings. That's the value of showing up to these meetings. It's well worth your time. If we choreograph it well, right? If we choreograph it well, because there's so much collective wisdom in our group, we've got to give equal voice. So now I've gone on way too long. so my apologies, because I want to bring your voices into the room. So what I want to do is I want to put these 3 questions up on, can you see that in the chat? So these, in a moment, I'm going to put you into a paired interview, and there's a very specific reason why we're going into that choreography. The quickest way to get to psychological safety is in a group, is to reflect on these questions. It goes 1, 2, and many. So the one is, I want to give you these questions right up front, because I'm going to tell you my story, my recent story, so you can use that as thought joggers. You can use that as thought joggers for reflection on your story. So I want my story to actually serve you, inspiring you to crystallize your story to answer these questions. And we're going to ask questions of past, present, and future. And then I'm going to put you in a choreography of a paired interview. And that's very intentional. It's not a share. It's not a pair share. There's a very specific reason why it's an interview. And that will become apparent. And then I'm going to invite you to go into that. We'll probably do 10 minutes each way. And you probably don't have enough time. I mean, you won't have enough time, because these questions can take you, like literally you can spend a week on each of these questions, right? But I want to see how deep you can go in 10 minutes. How deep you can go in 10 minutes. And then I'm going to bring you out, and we're going to have a discussion on the backside of that as a group. So the choreography is 1, 2, and many. And what we're going to do is we're going to create psychological safety in community that then is going to get us into a place where we can actually talk about our projects from a place of elevated creativity. Who's with me so far? Okay, Ray, right on. Okay, so these are the 3 questions. The past question, can you share a story? And I want you to just journal on this. So write these questions out, but I'm going to give you the essence of these questions as well. So we're going to come in a moment. I'm just so you know, I will distill these questions down for you, if you want to get the essence of it. But here's the past question. Can you share a story of a time in the past when you experienced a significant challenge that created a new awakening of consciousness for you? Okay. A story of a challenge in the past that created a new level of consciousness for you. Present. What gifts, strengths, or superpowers did this awaken in you? And then future, if you had only 2 years left to live, what is your greatest work you would want to put out into the world in service of the evolutionary whole? Who's in on those questions? Okay, so let me start reflecting. Then I'm going to tell you my story. Then I'm going to tell you my story as another thought jogger, but I'm going to give you the essence of these questions over here. So the essence of these questions. The essence of these questions are, first one is a past question. This is your story of awakening. Okay. The present is a revelation of your awakened superpowers. And from a place of your awakened superpowers, it's clarifying your gift to the world. You see how that kind of distills a certain essence? This is how do you crystallize out the maximum amount of meaning in the minimum amount of words? That's essentially distilling essence. Maximum amount of meaning in the minimum amount. Would you say that serves you well? So I want you to reflect on this, and then I'm going to tell you my story. So I'm going to go through these 3 elements and keep journaling. Keep journaling on elements of this while I tell you my story. And my story is recent. It's the last 3 weeks. So I do workshops and I do coaching. And I was with a client 3 weeks ago, November 12th, where I was coaching a client and I couldn't get my words out. I couldn't get my words out. I had word block. I knew exactly what I wanted to say, but I just couldn't. I was struggling. And I had to go to the ER. Because I mean, it was very unusual that I had to end, my call 10 minutes in. So I go to the ER and I get a head MRI. Long story short, I've been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. I've got the most aggressive form of brain cancer. I've got multicentric glioblastoma multiforme. That's what Joe Biden's son died of. So theoretically, I should only have 15 months left. Or that's why there's a question. That's why this question, if you had only 2 years left to live, what would you do? That question has relevance for me, has urgency for me. It's real. But here's my story of awakening. So on that Thursday morning, I woke up with a picture of unlimited health. By that evening, I had walked through this door. And now I was in the world of terminal cancer. And I didn't walk through the door alone. I took my family with me. So now our whole family is going through this. And then you can imagine the grief response. My older son shred his shirt. He crumpled. The grief response, it was just so intense. And then that night, because of COVID, I was admitted to the ward alone because I was set up for a brain biopsy the next day. And they were flashing dye out, so I only slept. You can imagine, if you put yourself in my shoes, imagine you lying in bed there, you can't sleep, you only sleep 1 hour that night, and I was in spikes of fear. And typically what happens by default in the brain, because the brain's safety first, we go into what if in every catastrophe that could happen, why me, all this. But because I've been in the exchange community for a year, I found a generative question. It was a miracle because David Cooper-Ryder, and by extension John, says questions create worlds. And so that question by default of why me, why now, puts me in a world of suffering. But I found the miraculous generative question that put me into a world of flourishing abundance. And that question was, what matters most now? It was a pivot point. That changed my life. That saved my life. And that question and you've got to, every question has altitude. Every question has altitude. And that question had sufficient altitude that it allowed for a tree of other questions that actually cascaded below that. And the next question was, what matters most now? And the answer came back, make every moment count. Make every moment count. And this is a moment that counts. So I'm very intentional. I'm very intentional about that. And then I said, how? Another question. Live intensely loving relationships. Live intensely loving relationships moment by moment. Every touch point is an opportunity for living into an intensely loving relationship. And Jackie, I want to thank you too, because that opening could not have been better for what we are here to do together. It could not have been better. And this is what happens in the field of synchronicity. Everybody shows up in this co-creation in serving what's looking to be birthed. And that was looking to be birthed, at that moment. You primed us. So we're in the cycle of receiving and giving love intensely. And I hope, you can feel my intensity, by the way, I am so passionate, but I hope it's not overwhelming. I hope you feel my love and that it's not too intense, that you can open your heart to receiving this as love, because Some people may feel overwhelmed by it, the intensity. But let me just slow down and just say, I love each one of you. I deeply love each one of you. I'm coming from a place of love, and I hope that you receive it. I hope you're receiving that so we can be in a cycle of receiving and giving love. So I just want to modulate my tone for a moment. And then the second piece is, I realized that what was most important to me was relationships, loving relationships, and then wanting to leave a legacy with my work, wanting to leave a legacy with my work. And so my awakened superpowers, and through my work, I have a superpower where I have the capacity to make glorious meaning and beauty out of deep suffering. And so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm making glorious meaning and beauty out of deep suffering. And I'm not experiencing suffering at all right now. I have no fear of death. I have no fear of death. I believe that I'm connected to this field of collective loving consciousness, and I'm coming from that field. Jackie, you said, we're in the field of collective loving consciousness. And when my flesh melts away, I will still be in that field of collective loving consciousness. And I am willing to kind of embrace that in terms of whatever is, I'm in full, when I talk about awakening, I used to think awakening was this wisdom over here. Now I'm understanding there are two other dimensions of awakening. The power source of conscious leadership is only when it's connected to an awakened heart. That's the power source to mobilize. That's the power source to mobilize others. But there's a third dimension to this. There's a third dimension to this. And it gets to be about servant leadership. And what servant leadership, it's not that we're serving others. I mean, there's that part of it. It's when you are in full spiritual surrender, serving the field, this mysterious field of God, himself, herself, ourself, however you conceptualize that. What is it? I call this the field. My wife called it the force. So when we're together, we called it the force field. And then she said, oh, that sounds like a superpower that releases miracles. So I said, oh, this is the force field of miracles. That's our language, how we integrate it. But I'm in service, in full spiritual surrender. And I understand in what's being catalyzed that this script demands of me that I have brain cancer right now because it's catalyzing things beyond my wildest imagination. And I'm good with that. I've surrendered to that. I'm good with that. Not only am I good with that, but I take my cancer as a blessing right now for everything that it's catalyzing. So my gift to the world, I'm going to show you, our family's created a YouTube channel called Living Well From Within. We've already got 90 videos up online. Wow. So I've been productive, and I'm going to ask for your support to make this channel viral. And I will demo that later on. I will demo that for you, and I will ask you to actually click subscribe, and you'll see why later. So enough said. I'll introduce you to the channel later. Let's get into, does anybody here, is everybody ready to go into a breakout room? Or do you want to have 2 more minutes to just, and it's okay, who wants 2 more minutes to just digest and to integrate a little bit more? I can put on some journaling music. Why don't we do this?
Yeah, let's do a minute or two for some reflection.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on some music. We'll take 2 minutes for you to journal on these questions. And then I'll give you some instructions in terms of what we're going to do in the breakout rooms. Okay, everybody good? Ready? So give me a thumbs up or make some kind of move to indicate your readiness. Okay, beautiful. So now here's the choreography of this. So in a moment, I'm going to open the rooms, but I wanted you to know what's going to happen in those rooms. It's a paired interview, so it's not a conversation. It's very important. This is not a conversation, and it's not a TED talk. Okay, it's an interview. It's an interview, and so when you get into the room, the first thing you're going to actually you'll just have a brief, like I'd say, a brief connection. I mean, 30 seconds, like introducing yourself, and then you'll decide who's going to be person A, who's going to be the interviewer. A is the first interviewer and B is the interviewee. And then what's going to happen is the interviewer is going to interview for 10 minutes. For 10 minutes is going to interview sequentially in all these three questions. So, but there's also an attitude of the interviewer. So we've got the choreography of the question. So Mike, if I could use you, and I'm not going to ask you for your answers. I just want you to kind of model. I want you to feel the spirit. So we're going to ask these questions. The interviewer is going to ask these questions with openness, kindness, and curiosity. That spirit of openness, kindness, and curiosity, because we want to get into a choreography of giving and receiving love. So I would ask, if I was asking Mike the questions, I would be leaning in and I would be saying, hey, Mike, what is your story of awakening? With that tone. And then he'd give me the answers back. And then I'd say, well, what does that reveal to you about your awakened strengths or your superpowers? And I would restrain myself, because what's going to come up and happen, it's going to be like, you're going to be very tempted to tell your story at this point, because naturally we get fired up. Restrain yourself. The only thing you want to do is give non-verbal cues. And so Mike would be giving his answers and you would just be saying, wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. That's incredible. Nothing more than that. And what is your gift to the world? You'll say, wow, that's amazing. You're not going to go into, how can I support you? Just allow yourself to be inspired. And then they'll go on for about 10 minutes. And then you're in that 10-minute response back. So it's asking 10 minutes and getting answers back. And then this is key. This is key. Then for about 30 seconds, the interviewer and I'm going to broadcast the switch around 10 minutes. This is very key. There is a 30 to 60 seconds reflection back, that's where the interviewer gets to say to the interviewee, wow, Mike, what I most appreciate about you and what you've shared is very important part of the choreography. It's a 30-second reflection back. That's where we get a reflect back, a distillation of what most inspires me about you is this incredible, and you have to distill that down into 30, 60 seconds. And then we switch and we go in the other direction. Now, if you don't answer all three questions, that's okay. It's more important that you switch. You get to wherever you get within 10 minutes. And if you get all those questions answered within 10 minutes, which I think will be unlikely, then just stay curious and keep going. But switch afterwards. Does everybody have that choreography down? You can use, like, here, let me show you, we can use how about, why don't we activate there's reactions at the bottom. Okay. So everybody good to go? All right. So now we need a ritual to get into the room. So the ritual that Exchange uses is put your hands up like this. Everybody put your hands up like this. Yanik, this is the fun part of it. This is the fun part of it. Okay. So then clasp your fingers together. Now watch this. And maybe you can get a screenshot, Yanik, of this moment. Okay. And then I want you to go like a wavy sign, because you're about to, now watch this. Isn't that cool? You're about to teleport. Look for the blue button. Look for the blue button. We're going to hyperspeed jump. And I'm going to open the rooms right now. And I may have to massage things. So if you're in a room alone for a while, we'll get you sorted out. So just be patient. And then I'm opening all rooms. Look for the blue button. You look for the blue button. Enjoy your trip. So we're now assembling in 8 seconds. Everybody will flash back. Check. I love this. I love this. It's like the assembly of light workers. There we go. Oh, welcome back. Welcome back.
Woohoo.
Woohoo! Welcome back to the party celebration. Hey, Kate, can you lead us? Everybody copy what Kate's doing now. Let's all copy Kate.
We have to do the Zoom wave.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you're gonna leave. You'll go into another time loop and dimension. We don't know when you're.
Be careful with that.
All right.
You're going to open up another wormhole.
Yeah, another one. Hey, so let me. We're moving now into just kind of this. First of all, let's all go to the reactions. Did magic happen in your room? If it did, put a heart on your window. If it did, put a heart on your window. I assume that would unfold. So I want to invite an orderly, create structured order out of beautiful chaos. So I want to invite you to share, and you can certainly share your appreciation. So what I'm going to do is we have about 10 minutes for this report out session because I told, I've wanted to honor Yanik with some of the other things that are important in the session as well. So it's about 10 minutes or so. So what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to ask for about 3 or 4, and this is all up to you, how many shares can you put in? And I'm going to ask you to go, if you want to, if you feel called to share, in the participant window, raise your blue hand. So I'll take that in order. I'll take that in order of raising your blue hand. Certainly everybody can share in the chat, okay? And so the question is that I'm going to ask, let me see if there are blue hands that are, can you find that window? Okay, we got Itzhak and we got Frank, Lawrence. Okay, so we've got the first. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to share. I mean, we can share, this, we're so filled with oxytocin, we could do a TED talk, each of us right now. So I'm going to ask you to do, because it's 10 minutes, to discipline yourself to do 60-second shares, because we can at least then welcome 10 shares into the group. So we want to get as many voices in here, but again, you can freely share in the chat, okay? So, and the way I'm going to invite you to open up the share is actually sharing, what did you most appreciate about your partner? What did you most appreciate about your partner? And maybe what did you appreciate about their story of awakening, or particularly their gift to the world? So start out with your partner. And then if something you want to do is something that awakened in you, you're welcome to share that too. But I want to invite you into a 60-second share. And so, Frank, can you model the sharing in a way that will actually set the model for the rest of the sharing to come?
Can try.
Okay, well, I will come back to Itzhak because I realize Itzhak, you were there first, but I've actually called on Frank. I'm going to come back to Itzhak. We'll start with Frank, just because you're in the left-hand part of my screen. And we'll go to Itzhak and I'll go down in the order that was. So, Frank?
Well, I can tell you that when you shared your story, the part that resonated with me, that influenced my discussion with Rajesh, was your accent in the third question. What if you had 2 years left to, I heard love. I don't hear live because your accent comes across as if you had 2 years left to love. And all of a sudden Rajesh shows up in my screen. And while we didn't follow the rules completely, I made a friend in 3 minutes, which is synonymous with what he does by putting 3-minute micro podcasts together. So talk about an epiphanous moment. Me and Rajesh had it because of your accent.
This is the cosmic karma. The field of loving consciousness has a sense of humor. So I love that, Frank. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, sir?
Well, I like David Hart, you know.
Well, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to mute. I need to be able to mute all, and then come off. I'm going to mute all because there's an echo, and then Yitzhak, unmute yourself. So can you unmute? Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, I'm good. I love his heart, and I think that that's how we communicate the best, you know. But what I want to tell you is that 10 and a half years ago, I found out that I had cancer. And it was like a few months before my son's wedding. So I couldn't tell any of my family. And I went to the wedding dancing and supposedly happy, asking myself, why me, why now? And that moment of meeting death helped me write 3 books, travel the world, do all these things that I do now, because I met death, and it was a wonderful experience, and it really gave me meaning for every moment that I'm alive, and every moment alive is about love. So it is about surrendering to that love, and so you have many more years to go. So I cheers for you, and I think that what David was talking about, trauma is something that is very dear to me, and I think we're going to continue to have our discussions.
Deep power of gratitude to you, my brother. Thank you for sharing. Deep power of gratitude. Larry, was that it? Lawrence, I don't know how you like to be called.
Perfect. Outstanding. Daniel, so I am going to, first of all, I appreciate you so much and the work you do. And I put in the beginning of the chat about synchronicities. And I got to tell you, I don't do it as well as you, but I do this exact work for corporations and organizations, like to the T. So God bless you for this work. And I also saw that my partner was trying to raise her blue hand. So I'm going to let her go instead of me.
Wow. Okay. There are 2 things that you have just modeled over here. First of all, everybody is free to actually put in the chat. You know, I imagine most of you are moved to want to actually acknowledge your partners. You know, at any point in time, you are welcome to put that acknowledgement into the chat so that you have that circle of completion. And Larry, what you have just done is a model of awakened conscious leadership. And that is that you wanted to honor somebody else to share more. So this idea is that any one of us, there's no ego in it. Any one of us can speak from the field. We're all equally qualified to speak from the field. And what you're saying is, I'm sensing into my partner is best suited to serve from the field now. And that's an amazing act of awakened conscious leadership. So I want to point that out. Who was your partner? Was that Christine?
No.
Oh, yeah. Should
Mima.
I be
Mima.
Mima. I was looking to be cosmically guided, and I'm cosmically guided to Mima.
Thank you, Lawrence, for that gift. I'm just so amazed by this conversation. Daniel, you're just so brilliant. All of you are. I'm a talker, but I just been in this quiet space, wide open heart space, almost like wanting to cry from all the beautiful energy and love and healing. As you were talking, Daniel, I was just holding you in space. I got the diagnosis myself 14 years ago with untreatable breast cancer. And I thought, well, what's going to happen now? My entire family was panicked and freaking out. I threw a party. And what happened next was incredible because the cancer I had was untreatable. But I just mapped out my best life ever, thinking I had only months or years to live. And incredible things have happened. And people I've met, my heart was just, I cracked wide open, cracked, meaning like God, whatever it was, it broke it open. And that light and love and, the fractures of it was just so beautiful, the manifestations that we can accomplish when we, create life on our own terms and love on our own terms, make each moment count. And we see souls in everybody we meet, souls in love, and we emanate that, and we emanate divine energy and light. And so I want to say to you that your diagnosis is not your prognosis, that only you can decide that for yourself and your soul, and you can manifest as long as you want to be here on this earth, physically or in spirit. So I just want to thank you for who you are, and you have blessed us all with your gift today. And I receive it, and I receive all of you. So just honored to share this space. Thank you so much. And thank you, Yanik, for this beautiful platform.
Okay, so I want to reflect this love back to you. There's a ritual over here that I would like to invite into our, in many ways, Yanik talks about bringing ritual and ceremony into it. So can we actually now radiate love to the work, the glorious work that Maima is doing? And she's got, I remember, Maima, you said you've got a very powerful cancer advocacy organization.
It's global now. I began when I was in treatment. I began when I was in chemo, and now it's global. It's called Tiger Lily Foundation.
Okay. So I want us to actually put Tiger Lily Foundation into our hearts, but I also want to put Maima, her
This
gift.
is for you.
No. I'm already received. This is your moment. You've shared. And I want us to actually all hold our hand on our heart for Maima and the glorious work that she's doing with Tiger Lily Foundation, that is serving so many other cancer patients and providing hope and healing on their journey. And take that, feel that, take that into your heart. And now allow yourself to actually move that sensation from your heart space to your hands, over your heart. It's moving outwards into your hands now. So now move it out into your hands. And now open your eyes. And I want you to rub that love in your hands. Rub your love together in your hands. And now I want us to shower. Everybody point to Maima's screen. And let's shower Maima with loving energy. And drink that in, Maima. This is your moment.
Oh.
Okay. This is your moment. Okay. Thank you for the work that you do in the world.
Thank you all.
Yeah. So, is there anybody else that feels called to share? Because if not, I would like to pivot to another question. And I think all the hands were up. Would anybody like to share, a 30-second share about the gifts to the world that either you were inspired by? Now we're going into kind of what are the gifts to the world? What are you inspired by? And you can say, you could share your gift, or you could actually share your partner's gift, whichever one. And in fact, you know what I'm going to actually ask you to do right now is share both. And you can share, we want to collect that in the chat. So share your partner's gift and share yours, everybody in the chat. And then I'm going to invite 2 or 3 people to share and, allow yourself to raise maybe a couple more hands so that we can bring the gifts into the world specifically. But everybody share in the chat right now. This is my gift and this is my partner's gift. And you have to put your name of your partner so that we can identify, because this is going to go into a document that Yanik's going to collate after the session. We want to keep track of the gifts, because when we understand the gifts that we're all engaged in, then we can go into a give and receive in support of each other's gifts. That's why this is important. So you want to have a clarity of expressing your gift. If nobody raises their hand, I'm just going to intuitively go with the cosmic universe, and I'm going to actually call on somebody. And I'm going to, Mike, I trust, because brother, you and I have been on the same journey, and I trust that you have extraordinary gifts to share.
Well, can I talk about my partner, David Hool?
Beautiful.
First?
I love it.
So I had a great conversation with him, and I was trying to think about how to, well, he actually just pasted his in. So it's actually pretty I'll add what you said, David, and what my take is on you. So we had met some time ago at TLC, and he's a visionary futurist who predicts the future, but his gift is to help the world better see the future so that we can all take the next evolutionary path. It's well done. And he's really done an amazing job of pivoting in this crazy time that we live in. So what mine is I create brands that blend impact, lifestyle, freedom, elegance, and simplicity. And that's all from my own journey of near death, much like you've been talking about, and also reaching a point where what I did became unhealthy. And so what I do is elevate and amplify visionary entrepreneurs with engaging, entertaining, transformational stories and offers that attract prospects so they trust and buy faster.
So I want to invite a reaction over here. I want you to go to reactions, and I want, in whichever way you want to acknowledge Mike, I'm going to lead with, you don't have to use this. I'm going to lead with my celebration. I want to celebrate you, Mike, for the gifts you bring, gifts that you and David bring to the world. But you choose your own emoticon. And I like Anita. Anita's going old school. But when I say old school, I'm sensing Anita. Actually, Anita, when you represent, you're in the Wisdom Council with me. You represent indigenous wisdoms. Can you share how you're honoring right now? Because I have a sense you're honoring from kind of, there's an ancient, am I right? That's actually bringing the wisdom into something sacred.
You're right. It's that we're energy. So it combines with ancient wisdom and modern science, but we're energy. So when I'm doing that, I'm actually embodying, acknowledging not only Mike, but his ancestors and those to come and all the beings that are here that are supporting not only him, but then they're gracing all of us. So, yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to mute. Wait, I need to mute everybody because there's an echo. Just in a moment, I will mute all. And can you lead us, Anita, in that ritual in terms of how do we do this all together? And let us follow Anita's lead. So, Anita, do you want to talk it through?
Yes, I think what it is as we get started with this beautiful breathing, with the expanded heart, you use your energy for love and kindness, and you're sending that and acknowledging all the beings that are here with us.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
There is no wrong way to do it. It's all about intention and love.
Well, I think that, Anita, that was a drop the mic moment. That was a drop the mic moment. It's a perfect way to close this portion of our program and to pivot back to Yanik at this moment in time. So thank you for closing, invoking that our gifts, we stand in a lineage of gifts that have been passed down for millennia. And there are two threads. There's a thread of pain and suffering because we also have that lineage. But we're welcoming our elders' distilled wisdom for healing at this moment in time. And we're inviting that thread of energy in to do the work of healing now in the world, bringing forward to do the work of healing now in the world at this time of historic need and opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. That was beautiful. Show a little love. Back to Danny. Let's do it Anita's way or any way that you want. Let's just send that back to you.
Thank you.
And I love what Frank said too, that your accent said 2 years to love. That's a pretty good mission. I'm into that one. I'm into that. It's so fascinating because so many of us have done so much transformative work, and one of the key questions a lot of times is, if you had 6 months to live, what would you do? And I never liked that question because a bigger, deeper question for me has been, if you knew it would fail, what would you do? Because it separates out the outcome from what do we want to put our life's energy into. And then, but I texted you and said, you got this diagnosis. Let's go with this as the question, as 15 months. And it really does have this constraint of what is most important, what is coming forth. I mean, you said you're in full bloom, and it's amazing to see what is coming through you. And we all don't know how much time we have in this incarnation of where we are right now, but there's an absolute reason that we're all here and we're gathered here today. And I really appreciate that. And thank you for your brilliance and luminosity and modeling so much for us, and everyone who played full out. Thank you. So I'm just going to show you real fast. From last meeting, I compiled, if you can make me host, Danny, it'd be great. I compiled a quick spreadsheet for all of us, and we did I think we sent out a invite to all of you that you can have it and you can edit this. So hopefully you can see my screen. So these may or may not be correct, so feel free to amend them. Everything that we're doing with the 1 degree is emerging, and that's the way that I see all of this. It's one big experiment, and it's also one big emergence that's happening. And so from the wisdom that anchors all of this, it's earth, ecology, enterprise, so how business can be a force for good, magic, which is wholeness and optimal wellness, and cosmic consciousness. And so I took some of your one lifetime impact projects and causes and put them into a spreadsheet here for you. So some of this might not be correct. You can add to it and update it, and then just put in your best, if you prefer any way that you want to be connected, and add to it, right? So if your name's not on here, that means I didn't have it from before. And so there's a spot up here about your one key project and any project details you want to add, then your ask. And so this is a place that we can put in, what do we need some help on? And then one way that you love to playfully contribute to others. Not just what are your unique skills, like what are you really good at? Because sometimes you could be really good at something, but it doesn't feel like play. It doesn't feel like a true gift that you're giving. For me, I'm good at a lot of things, but the thing that I love doing, well, there's a lot of things that I love, but one of them for sure is playfully helping you come up with a multifaceted vision for the impact that you want to make in the world. And so I just love to see all the different pieces and how it connects and integrates, and do it in a way that feels like true play. So everyone here is doing incredible work, and part of the 1 degree is how do we again nudge the consciousness of the world by 1 degree, and which is this collaborative of connecting to. Some projects are really gonna connect with you, others won't, but it's like, how do we get to know a little bit more transparency what we're doing? And I want to bring in Peter from La Soleil. Hopefully I said that right. My high school French teacher may or may not be proud of me. If you could just unmute Peter. And Peter's team brought out a really great movie called The 12. I don't know how many have ever seen that or got to experience that. Beautiful movie from 12 elders sharing what is really coming forth right now. And Peter's La Soleil Foundation is doing this holistic work, and I want to just have you share for a minute or two about that.
So hi everyone, thank you for having me. My name is Peter Giblin. I'm one of 9 co-founders from the Ciel Foundation. We're a UK-based charity. We act as an interface between indigenous wisdom traditions, and particularly elders, and modernity. The notion being that if we applied their communal principles and values and brought them into our organizations, communities, businesses, we'd be in a lot better shape. Our mission started 4.5 years ago, where one of us had a series of dreams, which led us to go on a year-long search around the world to find these 12 elders. You can see the film a film called The 12. I'll send you a link if that's okay. We have 3 pillars. The first one is education. We're going to do a kids animated version of the film, so they understand that magic really does exist in the world. We also have inclusion as a pillar. That's based around 144 people from around the world who come together once a year and work through the year on 12 specific topics, all interconnected. You could think of the 17 SDGs being in all of those 12, but they're connected to the sacred, right? We can't have the separation between the material and the sacred. The sacred needs to be baked into everything that we do, ourselves included. And the last one is preservation of indigenous culture and land. And I can send you some more information and maybe the video, and you can dig deeper and contact me if you'd like to learn more.
Yeah, we'll get that out. And Peter's looking for key angels right now that can really help support this mission and what's going on. And their work is incredible. It's to me a core piece of the wisdom that's anchoring in what we're doing to 1 degree. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Peter. So here's how we'll do it. You can pick one person to share their project.
Christine.
Thanks, Peter. I was like, Peter's not going to call on me because my project right now is really trying to learn more about each of you and connecting how all of our projects move forward together. So I'm really, as much as possible, in service of the collective. I feel like I've been very fortunate by the past couple of years to be funded by a foundation, but I don't work for them. And it's really about the interconnective tissue that very few people invest in, the actual network infrastructure. So what I'm here is really trying to figure out how to get more folks to be able to invest in that, because each one of you are working on such incredible things already that all I need to do is actually connect and amplify each one of you. And so that's my mission and why I'm here. So thank you, Yanik, and thank you, Avery, for reconnecting me and Yanik too.
Yes, 100%. And Avery's one of those super meta network thinkers, and Yara's on here as well that thinks like that. All right, Christine, you're up. You pick someone.
Let's pick Miss Anita. I see you straight in my screen.
Hi, Christine. Did you say Anita? I think you did.
I did say you. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Well, it seems like there's a thread of David and you talking. So my project, I've known for decades that I am to be helping two-leggeds to remember that we are part of one hoop of life. And that is more than sufficient. It's powerful, but we've forgotten. And so I amplify indigenous wisdom from different traditions. And currently I'm messenger of the of the Eco Hoop prophecy. And so my project, for years, I've been putting out books and information, and I'm finally doing an e-course that will come out next month. And so that's what I'm working on. And I'm a neophyte. I've worked in corporate. I've worked in lots of places, but I am a neophyte to how do you really do this in a way that will touch the hearts and minds of many as possible. And it's already happening. So that's my project, and I appreciate any kind of help or support. I am totally open-minded and heart to learning and receiving. And the elders, thank you, as well as me, for we know this remembering is real critical at this time. And the last thing I want to say, because this is a leadership, I know a corporate talk sometimes, not to say all of you are corporate talk, but it is leadership tools when we talk about the 4 gifts. It's incredibly important. And so we know that 82% of all the most biodiverse land in this world are on indigenous people, have been living with the earth and those lands. And so talk about leadership. It is time to amplify that leadership for the benefit of all of us, all humankind, and all our ancestors.
Yes, beautiful. And those of you that are connected to big channels and platforms, this is definitely a message worth spreading. And that's really, another part of this 1 degree is connecting to those that have that reach and leverage and voices, and seeing where can we plant these seeds of consciousness, and then how do we let them grow and bloom into something beautiful. And so part of that interconnectivity, actually, Yara, could you share for 1 minute, and then I want to wrap up on something. Yara, can you share we talked about it last time, but now you have a link for us about if we have communities to get them on your Hatch 360 network.
Thank you, sir. And also, first off, Yanik, thank you for today. It was stunningly beautiful, all of you.
I'll accept the thanks, but it's not me. Totally for Danny.
Well, Danny was quite beautiful. About 4.5 years ago, I started building out an AI machine learning matchmaking platform, almost like Tinder for impact, connecting needs and solutions and people to causes and projects. And so it has like a smart directory within your own organization or company. It can be utilized for mobilizing workforce and employee engagement, or for impact communities around a shared database to create this network of networks effect to accelerate impact projects around the SDGs and other causes. And so it will match you to nonprofits or just even like personal projects. There's an ask offer board. There's conversations where you can organize them according to topics and threads. But I told Yanik that I would gift that to this community as a way to continue to, understand who we are, what drives us, what passions and causes are important to us, what skill sets we might have. So if you're looking for a programmer who's passionate about climate change and their favorite band is, Michael Franti, or whatever sort of culture match you're looking for, the AI brings you a queue of people that could be useful for the projects that you post. So it's called h360.ai, and you can go there and type your email address in, and then I can give you a little demo to it. But we're about to onboard a bunch of really interesting impact communities. We're working with the UN and the SDG.org, which is a database of 700,000 SDG aligned projects that up until now haven't been able to communicate with each other. So that we're working on tethering that in. It's taken longer through COVID, of course, but the idea that you're able to kind of stack projects and see where there's duplication of efforts and possible collaborations.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Yaro. So h360.ai, I put that in the chat, and we also have a little write-up for you that we'll send to you. So I see this in two ways. One, we'll put the One Degree Network on there at some point, and then also if you have your own communities that you're serving, this is a great tool for that, because it just creates this unique transparency across that, and so we can start seeing some, what is going on and where do we want to fit in. One last person I want to call it back is Danny, because I want you to just showcase your channel, what you're doing, what's opened up for you, and where we can help Danny. And then I have a close for us.
Okay, well, great, thank you. So I've just put up the playlist. This is our family's commitment, is sharing the learning on our journey. So I've got cancer, but we're taking this time of suffering to actually share our learnings from each of our unique voices, so that we can actually be in service of other families, our family to your family, whether that's a work family or a home family. So we can actually bring healing, growth, and flourishing wellness to the world. So I'm going to invite you to all, at the same time, pull the website up. And the first ask I'm going to do is a very simple ask. I'm going to ask you to click the subscribe button. So let me can somebody let me know if that works? Because I don't, I'm still learning the YouTube channel. So can somebody come off? Okay. So I just want to do a very high level. So what this playlist, you can think of this as a Netflix series that you can binge watch from beginning to end. And it's an unfolding human drama that's entertaining enough, except that it's got transformational lessons to create healing, growth, and flourishing wellness in the world for you individually, for your families, for your communities, and the world at large, in the stream of elevating consciousness to elevate humanity. That's the whole thing. So this is where it comes. I want you to think, this is where I'm building these active learning cycles, below each of these videos. So they engage you, you watch a video, you have an experience of the video, but then you go into a reflection, and then you go into action steps. What does this inspire you to take? What actions does this inspire you to take now? And there are about 5 or 10 plot lines over here that are weaving together in service of awakening consciousness and healing in the world. So I'm going to hit the high points. So there's a big part of the journey, which is, initially following our family story of awakening. But then there's this other piece, this other thread line, which is, I've got a window to the world as a physician, evidence-based medicine. I'm getting the world-class care in conventional medicine, and I'm getting world-class care in integrative holistic medicine. And I'm going through my full spiritual awakening. So there's another plot line, which is, this experience of giving hope to other cancer patients. But here's something that starts magically happening. This is like the magic that is happening with all the synchronicities that are unfolding. It literally is magical, because this script is not written by me. It's a cosmic script written by the divine. That's what I'm sensing it as. And like the amount of synchronicities I have like 10 synchronicities before I even have my coffee in the morning. So it's overwhelming. And then there are all these amazing interludes. And then I understand what this channel is about. I understand this channel is not about me. It's about me having the influence to shine a light on you. To shine a light on you. And so I am interested in driving subscriber numbers that create meaningful influence. I want to see how fast can we get this to 1 million subscribers. How long is it going to take to get to 1 million subscribers? Because then we have meaningful influence. And when I have influence, that degree of influence, I have the influence to shine a light on you. So by you shining a light on me, I get to shine a light on you. And I would be very honored if you have anything that you want to have a light shined on for your projects, to do an interview with you. And you will see, I'm going to show you what happened. I want to just show you the scale. I want to show you the scale. And the magic started happening and taking it to a whole new level, when I've been working for a decade with Susie Ellis. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Global Wellness Summit and the Global Wellness Institute. This is essentially the Davos for the global wellness industry. These leaders, 500 of these leaders, meet every year in an exotic location. And I've been working with Susie Ellis. You'll see, watch that for scale. Watch that video on day 25. Now you'll understand the scale of this and why this can amplify. Anita, you said you want to amplify leadership. This is it. So I'm sharing with Susie Ellis, and they have initiatives. They literally, I'll give you the scale of this. Their conferences are keynoted by the Dalai Lama. Mehmet Oz, Mehmet Oz shows, Deepak Chopra show up at these conferences. This is the most important gathering year after year. And guess where the next gathering is? We're returning to the Holy Land, Israel, November 2021. And so I get on the call with Susie, and she says, and interestingly enough, it's not even on the website, but they have an initiative with the Vatican to reset the world of wellness through the partnership with the Vatican. And see, she says, Susie, she's really kind of the most networked person in the industry, and she's chair of this. She says, Danny, I want to house this initiative, this living well from within. It's not just a YouTube channel, but I want to house this within the Global Wellness Institute as their newest initiative. So what that does for us, it gives us a place to convene. And I have been given a wide open lane as chair of this initiative to convene individuals. And you will start seeing, I'm actually convening people right now. I want you to watch that video, Tracy and Laurie accepting the invitation to join the Global Wellness Institute on behalf of the Whole Health Institute. Tracy ran the integrative medicine revolution at the Veterans Administration. And Alice Walton, Sam Walton's daughter, heiress, one of the wealthiest women in the world, plucked Tracy out and says, we want to run whole health model in 13 segments of society. So this is at scale. We want to do this more in healthcare, in business, in education and government, just to name a few. The scale of this is immense. So let me just then get very brief. I'm going to wrap up. Watch the videos, because there are invitations over here. Chip Connolly has accepted on behalf of the Modern Elder Academy. So here's why we're recording. Here's why we're recording. Because you're going to be the next up in the playlist. This recording over here is going to be the next up in the playlist. So people will understand the visibility of what we're doing over here in the 1 Degree Network. I've already done a 5-minute pre-setting. So the question you might ask yourself is, how soon do you want 1 million people to watch this video? How soon, how meaningful would that be to actually catalyze? And then I have the influence to actually interview any of you that would like to be exposed. So you talk about amplification, that's the strategy. And so what I'm going to ask you is to not only subscribe, to feed this out in your networks, to drive subscribers, and you know how to do that better than I do. You know how to do that better than I do. So let's see how we can collectively get, how fast it's going to take us to get 1 million subscribers. Can we do that? Who's in? Okay, we're off and running. And with that, by the way, we now have catalyzed our ability to shift the elevation of consciousness by 1 degree in the world. That's where we're at right now. And that script is written by the cosmic divine.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And I love that everything there is just candid, it's unscripted, it's just whatever happens, and it's what's emerging. And then I want to do a close. I asked my friend Itzhak Biri, who's an incredible shaman, to have the last meditation wrap up for us. So Itzhak, if you're still good for that, let's have you do that in the last couple minutes here.
I'm kind of lost for words for after all that project that Daniel is sharing with us, and I think that it's become quite emotionally for me for awakening that decision I made to put myself to where I need to be, where I came here to be doing on this earth. And I think that we are all have that. So I want to thank you, Daniel, for that, and for everybody. Sure that quite a lot of us have that experience. But I also wanted to, the one thought that I had was that we're always looking for one event, but I think that we have quite a lot of serious events that are changing our life. In my book about at the moment of enlightenment, what I really liked is I asked so many leaders of the shamanic community to tell me the moment of their enlightenment, but it turned out to be that the one story that I loved the most was from an indigenous shaman from Mexico who said to me that he's really sorry he can't really help me because in their tradition every moment is that moment of enlightenment, and we have to choose every moment how we want to spread our light. And so that's might be the meditation that we're going to be doing today, is how do you spread your light. And it also comes down now with the moment that we are coming into the solstice, where the darkest night is. We already see the glimpse of light, the glimpse of goodness coming. And so maybe I'd like you, I'm going to be singing and doing some rattling. So at that moment, maybe you want to go into your heart and imagine that there is a place of light there, that candle. And imagine that you are passing on the candle to every being, everything that, anyone that fly, anyone that walk or crawl or swim, to every stones, to every tree, to every mountain, to every lake, to every ocean, to bring light to that comes from within you. So I invite you to light that candle and pass it on to every being on this earth, which is similar to what we did before.
Excellent. Really, really beautiful. So as a final piece here, just as a quick thing, what did you most appreciate about today? To put a bow on this. So 8 words or less, or even 1 word that's coming up for you right now. But what did you most appreciate about this session? Connectedness from Gonzalo, heart-centered, Avery, thank you. Connectivity, vulnerability, and elevation, Yarrow, thank you. David, we were all present and open, yes. Connection and love and kindness, the deep share of love, radical abundance, power and light of this community, connection, energy, love, alignment, creation. One, that's a good word. Vulnerable and meaningful shares, cosmic compassion. You know, I like alliteration as a copywriter. Calm and love, deeply love and appreciate each one of you. Clear, crisp, loving expression of Daniel. Dan the man, vulnerability, generosity, and love. Fierce love. Beautiful. Thank you so much, everyone. And Itzhak, love that closing. So beautiful, and into this moment that we're stepping into. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And you know, I've thought about, you know, would we want to put on an additional just virtual ceremony once a month that is just ceremony? So let me know what you think about that. Number 2 is, you know, would you like to participate in brainstorming business ideas and projects with impact partners and actually help maybe bring together those with audiences and platforms and impact causes and come up with ideas that we can kind of nudge consciousness with baked in ideas, these little secret, almost like how you, with the dog, that you would give them the pill wrapped in the cheese. And then how do you want to connect with each other, and what, you know, and not, it doesn't have to just be one, that one's multiple choice, but actually what would you use? And again, we'll have a little after party, hanging out, maybe talking about this idea of evil schemes for global good and the brainstorming thing, because that's something I'm really intrigued by and excited. And obviously, you know, anyone that needs to go, thank you so much for spending some beautiful time here together.
Thank you. Thank you so much for hosting it and making it happen.
It's happening. I pledged, I've had this in my journey, in my journal for 8 years now. And I said in 2020, we're launching the 1 Degree Network, and it feels this to me feels like it's launched now. So Danny, thank you for being a huge catalyst for that. And there's.
Well, I just want to, I'm gonna need to leave as well right now, but I just want to just call into that this is, like sacred. It's not lost on me that, this coincides with so many threads. I mean, particularly me meeting, John Berghoff, in the exchange community, which enabled this facilitation, frankly. And then Yanik, with you and I connecting, with this, what's extraordinary, it's you've been working 8 years to actually kind of prime this vision, and it feels like it's all being catalyzed in real time. And so it is the deepest honor for me to be actually in serving you in your mission as well. So I just want to actually kind of call into that with this extraordinary group of people that can actually make this happen. So it is I am so blessed to be on this journey with you, each and every one of you. And I will bid you adieu with that, from love and appreciation and in awe and inspiration. I salute each and every one of you. Love you.
Thank you.
Love you, Daniel. Thank you for your love and courage.
Okay, thank you.